Hey everybody, it's Scoop Phase again for another Scoop build. This time we're doing Blue Eyes. So here it is. We're doing it a little different this time. Instead of me building the deck as I talk, I just have the deck pre-built, and I'm just going to talk about the different choices. Mainly because this one I wasn't really sure where I was going with it until I was like actually finished with it, so I didn't want to ramble on while trying to build it. So first, we're going to lead off with obviously we have our Blue Eyes cards. The first thing you'll notice, there's no guard dragons in here. I know I could probably do better if I put guard dragons in here, but I wanted to fit a bunch of different things and in the extra deck, and they were the things that just came out because they weren't that reliable. At least for this build. In a different build, you could build it to where it's more guard dragony, but then you're kind of just running into the realm of it just being another Dragon Link deck. Anyways, this is Blue Eyes. Here's the Blue Eyes monsters. We have three Blue Eyes, my three favorite arts. This one's not in English, unfortunately. He's just there. You kind of have to play him. You need him to reveal off of alternative, and you can search him really easy. And he helps make rank 8s, and he fills up light monsters in your grave for your Chaos Dragon, Levianeer, and all that stuff. And I mean, I guess in really simplified game state, he is probably the biggest beater that will be on the field. So I guess that's something if it comes to that. The next Blue Eyes card we have two alternative. He's kind of bricky, so that's why we only play two. He's a hard once per turn, but he's really easy to search because we have Melody in here, and we have Safer can technically search him too. And you summon him from your hand by revealing a Blue Eyes. He summons himself. You can only do that once per turn. And then, not a hard once per turn, though, you can target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it. So if you do that, get rid of him into the graveyard somehow, and then bring him back with, like, Monster Reborn, you can do that effect again. It's just the summoning from hand that you can only do once per turn. And then the next Blue Eyes card, that's it for the big Blue Eyes. I wanted to play Dragon Spirit of White, but I didn't find the room for it. The next Blue Eyes cards we have are the little tuners. So we have two Whitestone Ancients and two Whitestone Legend. Legend, I feel like, is kind of better right now, which is weird because that didn't used to be the case. Because it gets you something immediately. It just searches you with Blue Eyes, which you can use to discard off of stuff. You can summon it off of Saryuja. You can use it for alternative, that sort of stuff. Whereas this, the Whitestone Ancient, back when this card first came out, it was clearly the better of the two. But so during the end phase of the turn, it was sent to graveyard. You summon a Blue Eyes monster from your deck, which is cool, but you have to wait till the end phase. And you can only summon a Blue Eyes monster, which there's not very many good targets you'd want to summon in the end phase right now. Its second effect is actually a little more helpful nowadays. Is you can banish it to target a Blue Eyes monster in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. So if you dumped an alternative off of like a trade-in or something early, and then you managed to get Blue Eyes into your hand later, and this is in your graveyard, you can get the alternative back. You can add Blue Eyes back to your hand for this thing. That effect is actually a little more helpful than the summoning in end phase. And then this just went sent to graveyard from anywhere. You just add a Blue Eyes White Dragon, not once per turn, so you can just keep doing that over and over again. And then last Blue Eyes monster we have is Sage with Eyes of Blue. It's really, we don't have many normal summons. We have Safer in this. So when you normal summon, you add a level 1 light tuner from your deck to your hand. So you can add any of these things. I also threw one Effect Veiler in because if we don't need these already, like say we already have them, we can just search the Effect Veiler, and that gives us an interruption on our opponent's turn. And then it also has another effect where you can send it to the graveyard, then target one of your effect monsters, and send that effect monster to the grave to summon a Blue Eyes monster from your deck. But you can't summon an alternative that way, so you're only summoning this, which I guess you can turn a littler thing into a level 8 to help make your rank 8s, but that effect probably won't come up that often. And then also it's a tuner, so it helps with Halqifibrax and stuff. And then the real honorary Blue Eyes cards, they're technically not Blue Eyes in name. Is trade in, you discard a level 8 monster, you draw 2 cards. We have a bunch of level 8 monsters, and we want a lot of these in our grave anyways, so it's just good draw power. And then we have 3 Melody of Awakening Dragons, also not technically a Blue Eyes card by name, but it's basically a Blue Eyes card. So you discard 1 card, and then you add up to 2 dragon monsters with 3,000 or more attack, and 2,500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. So you can add Blue Eyes White Dragon, Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, you can add this Chaos Emperor, you can add Levianeer, so we have a lot of good targets for that. And then I'll go over the extra deck in a second. So next I'll just go over the hand traps real quick. We have Driver, the best hand trap. And then Gamma. We're doing a lot of things that could lose hard to Ash, like we have Ravine and Melody and Trade-in, and they're things we can do before putting a monster on field. So the Gamma is going to be live a lot during our turn, and it's also just very helpful on your opponent's turn as well. And then it's also nice because it can, if we do this on our turn, it just gives us a free Crystal Needle Fiber immediately. So that's nice. And then we have Nibiru because he's probably just the best hand trap right now. He's really good against Virtual World. He's good against Dragon Link, Infernobles. All the combo decks with Link Cross gone became a little weaker to Nibiru than they were. So it's really good just to play this card. And he's a light, so, and same with Gamma, so that actually kind of helps with our Chaos stuff that they're lights. And then we also, obviously, we went over the Effect Veiler already. We can search it, so that's why it's in here. And that's it for the hand traps. Now, for just kind of the other monsters, we have one Chaos Emperor, the Armageddon, Dragon of Armageddon. His scale effect is pretty nice. You pay 1,000, you destroy him, and then you add one of your banished dragon monsters to your hand, which actually can come up. You can add the stones. If you banished Seifert earlier to add something back, you can add that. If you banished anything off of Levianeer, you can add it back. That's pretty nice. And then his other effect is you can just summon him like a chaos monster. You banish a light and a dark, which granted we don't have a lot of darks that we can get good access to early, which is a little unfortunate. So sometimes you can't really summon him that easily, but he's a good thing just to have, and he's a one of we can search really easy. He has another effect that probably won't come up where you can send him and a bunch of cards on field to like burn or something. Well, we'll see. Then we have Levianeer. We have two of him. He's really good, especially in this deck. So he's level 8, which is amazing. This is also level 8. And so you summon him by banishing 3 light and or dark monsters from your graveyard. If you do all light, you get to special summon a monster from your graveyard in defense, which that comes up a lot in this deck. If you do all dark, which is probably not happening in this deck, you get to shuffle 1 random card from your opponent's hand into their deck. And if you do light and dark, you destroy up to 2 cards on field, which is actually very helpful going second, especially when you're facing back row and stuff, and that doesn't target. So if they have something, they have to chain it right then and there. So we have 2 of him. His on-field effects are hard once per turn, but you can summon him as many times as you want, so that's nice. And then we have Galactic Spiral Dragon. He's cool. If you have 2 or more light and or dark dragons on the field, you can just special summon them from your hand or graveyard, so you can... And he's level 8, so you can send him with Trade-in, just leave him down there for later. And he gets banished when he leaves the field, but that probably won't come up. And then his other effect is during your main phase, you can just make all monsters you control level 8. So if we have some of these littler monsters on field, he can turn them all into level 8s to help make our rank 8s, which is nice. And he just summons himself. And he's also a dark. You wouldn't want to banish him for like Levianeer or Chaos Emperor, but it's nice to have an option to do that. And then next we have Nebula Dragon here. He's probably the hardest to search, technically, because this guy, all you gotta do is dump him with, like, Ravine, and then these guys, you just search him with Melody. This one, you really only search him with Seifert, but his effect is really good. So you can reveal him and 1 other level 8 dragon monster in your hand, and then you special summon both of them in defense and negate their effects. And then you can't normal or special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except light or dark dragon monsters. And then you can banish him from your graveyard, then target a level 4 light or dark dragon monster in your graveyard, add it to hand. So you can actually add the Seifert back to your hand, which is nice. So he's just nice because we can kind of do our stuff with Sage and maybe Needle Fiber and stuff first. And then you can just do this with like a Blue Eyes in your hand, and he's just a free level 8, which is really nice. The restriction's okay. Like, it's not that big of a deal, especially because you can just do it after you've done stuff. It's not like for the whole turn you can't do it. But we play 3 of him because he's technically the hardest to get to. He's also level 8, so if we have extras of him, we can just use Trade-in on him. He's a light, so we can discard him if we have extras to fill up the grave for Levianeer and stuff. And then I'm going to skip this stuff for now. I'll come back to it. And then we have Seifert. He's just really good. Other than Sage, he's like really the only normal summon we want to do. We can technically normal summon these, but it's whatever. But you can send any number of dragon monsters from your hand or field to the graveyard, and then you add a dragon monster whose level is equal to the original that you tributed. That you sent, not tribute, I'm sorry, that you send. So basically you can send a Blue Eyes with him to search Nebula Dragon, Galactic Spiral Dragon, Levianeer, Armageddon, Blue Eyes Alternative. You can see he can do a lot of stuff. And his other effect is you can banish him from your graveyard, and then you can target 1 level 8 light or dark dragon monster and add it in your graveyard and add it to your hand, which is really nice too. It lets you recycle your Levianeers and all that stuff. And like I said, you can banish him to do that, and then you can use this guy to add him back to hand, which is really nice. And then, okay, now we'll go over this little package here. So we put these aren't out yet. I'm pretty sure they're probably going to be in that Ghost from the Past thing, which will have Ghost Rare Alternative White Dragon, which is great. But anyways, because they were supposed to be in that Dragoony structure deck, and I don't think we're getting that now. I think it's just all getting thrown into that whenever we get that set. But this thing's interesting. So he can't be used for a Synchro Summon except for a Dragoony monster, which is okay because his levels don't match with our level 8s really anyways. But what you can do is you can discard him from your hand and then add a Dragon Ravine from your deck to your hand, which is really nice. And then his other effect is if you control a Dragoony monster, he can special summon himself from the graveyard, but he gets banished when he leaves the field. And then you get locked into special summoning only dragons from your extra deck for the rest of the turn. Now, why is this important? So you can use him, search Ravine. Ravine can discard something to add a level 4 or lower Dragoony monster. You don't usually see that effect be used. And you search this guy, who's also going to be, I'm assuming, coming out in the same set as this guy, Remus. So what his effect is if you control a Dragoony monster or a Dragon Ravine, you can just special summon him from your hand for free. And then if you control a Dragoony monster card in your spell and trap zone, you can target one spell trap on the field and destroy it. We're never going to resolve that. But the important thing is you summon him, so he's level 4. And then if you used Remus to search the Ravine, then Remus can summon himself now that you have a Dragoony monster, and now you have a 2 and a 4. And what you do with that is you make Dragoony Knight Gaydurg. He takes a Dragon Tuner, and he takes a non-tuner Wing Beast, and he's level 6. So these will make him. And his effect is once per turn you can add a level 4 or lower dragon or wing beast monster from your deck to your hand. Then you immediately discard one dragon or wing beast monster. So what you would do is you'd make him, then you search this thing, Mist Valley Baby Rock. When this card is sent directly from your hand to the graveyard, you special summon it, and it's a level 2 tuner. So what you do is you add Baby Rock, it gets immediately discarded, so that its effect triggers. It only triggers if you do it off of Gaydurg. It's not going to trigger if you discard it off of Ravine. And then it summons itself, and now you have a level 2 tuner and a level 6 Synchro monster. So what do you do after that? You make Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. And this guy just negates monster effects and does a whole bunch of stuff. And what that does is he is summon number 1, he is summon number 2, Gaydurg is summon number 3, and Mist Valley Baby Rock is summon number 4. And then when you synchro into Crystal Wing, he is summon number 5. And you haven't normal summoned yet, because remember, this just summons himself for free if you have Dragon Ravine, and this just summons itself from graveyard. So you, without normal summoning, and on exactly 5 summons, you made a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. So from this point on, if they try and Nibiru you, you can just negate it with the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. And after that, whatever board you end up doing with like rank 8s or whatever, it has a Crystal Wing just on top of that, which is really nice. So we threw these in here. They're not out yet. There will be eventually, and I really wanted to try them out in this because I really like Crystal Wing. So we're gonna, despite the fact we have to run some bricks in here, this Baby Rock is technically not a brick if you can still make the play, because all you do is just add a different level 4 lower dragon and then just discard the Baby Rock. So then at that point it becomes a free search for the Whitestone Legends or Seyfert or something like that, which is nice. So that's it for the monster part of the deck. Trade-in, Melody I went over. Monster Reborn, it's Monster Reborn. I wanted to play Return of the Dragon Lords, but it's a little too specific. You can't bring back a lot of these littler things. And Monster Reborn's just very generic in that case. And then I'm running 2 Ravines, just to make sure. If you draw 1 Ravine, you can use it to get the Remus, and then Remus can get the second and to get the Legatus, so you can still technically do the play, even if you draw a Ravine already, because he has to add Ravine to discard himself. So, but you also have other ways to discard him, like you could discard him off of Melody, and then use the Ravine just to search the Legatus, if you really want to. I just thought it'd be good just to play 2 Ravines, plus its other effect is actually good to send a dragon from your deck to grave. And then now the extra deck, we went over Gaydurg and Crystal Wing, so I'm not going to talk about them anymore. We have Blue Eye Spirit Dragon, This card's pretty good. It takes a tuner and a blue eyes. It's level 9, so you use one of your level 1 tuners and one of your blue eyes monsters. So its one effect is not as relevant as it used to be. So neither player can special summon two or more monsters at the same time. So basically, if they like pendulum summon, for example, they can only pendulum summon one. And back when Soul Charge was legal, you could only Soul Charge one while this thing was on the field. If we run into a pendulum deck, that will come up. But other than that, I don't think it will really be relevant. And then once per turn during either player's turn, when a card or an effect, or when an effect of a card is activated in the graveyard, you can just negate the activation. So this is actually probably its best effect now, just the way that everything is. So you can negate any graveyard monster effects, which is really nice. You can negate Eldritch cards in the graveyard, like the spells and traps, and obviously Golden Lord too. So that's also really nice. So I think that's actually probably its best thing about it. And then its other effect is you contribute it to special summon a light dragon type synchro monster from your extra deck in defense, but you destroy it during the end phase. Keep in mind that doesn't count as a synchro summon, so you can't revive the dragon that it summons. So that's just important to think about. And then it has two targets in here to summon that. We have a Azur Eyes Silver Dragon. It takes a tuner and a non-tuner normal monster, so we technically can make this without Spirit Dragon's effect. I would recommend just making Spirit Dragon instead. But what Azur Eyes does is when it's special summoned until the end of the next turn, neither player can target dragon monsters you control with card effects, and also they can't be destroyed by card effects. And then once per turn during your standby phase, you can target a normal monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So you can start bringing Blue Eyes back once it goes back to your turn, assuming you summoned Azur Eyes on your opponent's turn with this. And its protection effect counts itself, so your Spirit Dragon will not actually kill your Azur Eyes in the end phase, which is kind of nice. And it stops like targeting, so that's cool. Like if it protects like your Hope Harbinger or your Hard Earth, which is kind of nice. And then the other target we have to summon is Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. So its effect is when it's special summoned, not when it's synchro summoned, which is very important. If it said synchro summoned, we wouldn't play this. But when this is special summoned, or when a level 5 or higher monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, you can target one special summon monster your opponent controls and return it to hand. So if you don't feel like you need the Azur Eyes, you can tag out the Spirit Dragon into Moonlight to bounce something your opponent controls, which is really nice. Especially if you can negate a Grave effect first with Spirit Dragon and then bounce out into the Moonlight. That's 2 interruptions off of just the one Spirit Dragon, which is really nice. And technically, the Moonlight also helps us make Crystal Wing going first without using the Gaydurg if we really want to, because we can tag out on our turn with the Spirit Dragon. And if we can get a level 1 tuner on field, we can make the Crystal Wing that way, I guess. It's not really worth it. It's better just to do this. And then we already talked about Gaydurg. I'll go over the XCs last. So the Link monsters, we have Anima, just because we have a lot of level 1s, and it's just a pretty good removal in the extra deck just to get rid of something if people aren't playing around it. And that's why he's here. And sometimes it's just good to get these stones right into the graveyard. And then we have Spheres. It just takes 2 dragons, and during your opponent's turn, you contribute it to return a face-up card on the field to the hand, which is really nice. And then if it's tributed, you summon a dragon from your hand or deck, and their attack and defense becomes 0. So that's also really nice. It can get us like Seifert for next turn, or it can get us like a Blue Eyes for next turn or something like that. And it just gives us another extra interruption, and it just takes 2 dragon monsters to make. It has to be in the extra monster zone, though, so make sure you put it in the extra monster zone or it can't use its effect. We have this thing. It's just because it's a Link 2 dragon that's generic. It just takes 2 monsters. So if we go into Needle Fiber, we can make this, and then with one more dragon, make a Spheres, basically, is why this is here. And it's just a generic Link 2. In case we get locked into dragons off of Gaydurg, we can't make the Needle Fiber after that. Or not off of Gaydurg, but off of, like, Remus. Then we have this to go into instead, if we really needed to, for some reason. And then the last Link monster we have is we just have Saryuja. We can get a bunch of monsters on field at once. And then we can just use that to draw a bunch of cards. And we can put Blue Eyes back and then search them again with the White Stone. And then he can summon a monster from your hand, so he helps make the rank 8s, which is really nice. And he's a dragon, so you can use him and another dragon on your end board just to end on the Spheres again, which is really good. And then the last thing we have is the rank 8s. So they're all pretty self-explanatory. They all revolve around this guy. So he takes 2 level 8 monsters, and then he can't be targeted by card effects, which is really nice, so they can't imperm him when he tries to do this. So he can detach 1 material, and then you take 2 dragon number monsters with different names from your extra deck and or graveyard, which is sometimes comes up. And you special summon one of them, and then you attach the other to it as a material. And then you can't summon monsters for the rest of the turn after doing this, or declare an attack except with the monster that was special summoned. So what you do is you make this guy, and then you detach, and you summon either Hope Harbinger or Hard Earth Dragon. And I have Titanic Galaxy Dragon just to put under them. We rarely will actually make him. His effect is kind of nice, though. He can negate everything in the battle phase, which is kind of cool. But I don't think it'll come up that much. He's usually just going to be under one of these two. And then you make those. Depending on what, if you're facing like a back row deck, this is really good because it can't be the start of battle, and then it starts banishing all their stuff in the end phase, which is really nice. And then Hope Harbinger it negates spells, it redirects attacks. It's just a very good card. And then if you get to the next turn and this thing's still there, you can detach, and you can do one of these two, whichever one you didn't use, or if one of them's in the graveyard, and you can summon this thing. And this thing, you can detach one material from it, and it gains 1,000 attack for all the ranks of all the XZ monsters you control. So this thing can just one-shot stuff the next turn, which is nice. And usually they're not going to, unless they wipe your board completely, they're not getting rid of this thing usually. They're trying to get rid of like this, or the spheres, or the Azuri. So this thing usually sticks around till the next turn. And once again, it can't be targeted, so they can't just impermanent on your next turn to try and stop it. And yeah. That's it for the XC monsters. The side decks, we're doing that a little different too. This is all stuff I thought about putting in, but either didn't have the room, or I'd have to change the deck to make it into kind of a different thing. So we'll just start with the extra deck monsters. So I thought about like Cloud Castle and True King of All Calamities. You could go this route, and I didn't want to though. Also, this guy kind of adds to that because he can summon your Spirit Dragon back from the grave with his scale effect to help make the Calamities. So if you were going the Calamities route, I would definitely throw this guy in there too. That's why he's down here in the considerations. I really wanted to put this guy in here because if they hit you with a hand trap and you gamma them on your turn, you just make this free level 8 that just gets you cards in your hand and in your graveyard and then just comes back, which is really nice. I just didn't know what to take out. I could take this thing out, but I kind of think it's important to have a generic Dragon Link too that doesn't take just dragons like Spears does, because we have Sage and stuff. I really wanted to fit him in there though, and you can technically make him the same way you'd make Crystal Wing if you really wanted to. Same thing with Zeus. I really wanted to fit Zeus in here, but I just didn't know what to take out. You have a bunch of XC monsters that are big that can attack, so they're probably gonna live the battle, and then that just gives you another interruption. I just didn't know how to fit him in here. But he's there. Some more rank 8s you could play. You could play Zombie Stein. He takes 2 level 8 dark monsters, which is a little specific. And he's not a dragon, so he conflicts with this thing. But he has an Omni Negate, and you can get level 8 dark monsters pretty easily with Spiral Dragon and Levianeer and stuff. But I didn't think he was worth it. And then same thing, Dingirsu. He's a generic rank 8, but he's not a dragon once again, so it kind of conflicts with this thing and with Remus. He's really good though. He just non-target sends stuff, and he protects you from destruction, which is really nice. Once again, I couldn't really find the room for him, and I think if you were to put him in here, I think you wouldn't go with this stuff, to be honest. And then last we have the Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. He's just a monster negate in the form of rank 8, but once again, he's not a dragon, so it's not the most reliable thing with the way we built this deck. I would like to play him, but there's not a lot of room, and it doesn't really fit well. Then the other, just a few Link monsters you can play. You could put the Guard Dragons in here. Probably take out the Remus stuff. That's why I ended up taking the Guard Dragons out to fit the Crystal Wing and the Gaydurg. You could maybe find some other things to take out. Like you could just cut the Hard Earth if you really wanted to. But yeah, you can put the Guard Dragons in. I would recommend putting like Chaos Space for the little Chaos Dragons if you're gonna do that, because that makes it a little easier to get the Guard Dragon plays off. And then you could also throw Romulus in here. I wanted to because he can search the Ravine, but we already have something that searches Ravine. And I just don't know what I would take out. Because once again, I think it's important to have a Link 2 Dragon that just takes any 2 monsters. Because we do have non-dragons that might get stuck on the field if we get locked into dragon monsters. And that's it for the extra deck cards. Like I said, I wanted to put 1 Dragon Spirit of White just because you can summon it off of Sage. You can summon it in the end phase off of the Stone. And it banishes back row, which I think is actually pretty relevant right now. You can banish Eldritch spells and traps. I I couldn't find room for him. He's kind of bricky because you can't really search him with Melody and stuff. And we're not playing. If you were playing Return of the Dragon Lords, I'd maybe consider it more because then you can loop him a lot easier. But just the way it is right now, I just didn't think it was worth it. And then Chaos Creator is something you could play if you were playing the Chaos Space package because you have a lot of lights that you want to discard, so it's really easy to search him with Chaos Space. And he's level 8 and he gets monsters back, which is nice. I couldn't find room for the Chaos Space stuff, and I didn't think it was really worth it just with the way this was. And then another thing you could play is Tempest. This was mainly if you were playing this guy, you could play Tempest to help make him a little easier, I guess. And he's just a pretty generic dragon you can bring out that you can send with Ravine and stuff. And then last, you could play Pot of Desires. I don't want to with this because I could banish the Baby Rock or like they're both Ravines or something like that. But you could, in theory, play Desires if you weren't playing like the Remus stuff. If you weren't playing the Dragoony stuff, I would probably say play Pot of Desires. But I like Trayden. I think Trayden's okay too. And yeah, and then this Arc Pendulum Dragon I kind of mentioned earlier, he's more for kind of making VFD. He also can help you search the Chaos Emperor, and then I would put Dark. He can also search Darkworm, which goes well with Ravines, I guess. But once again, I don't think it's really worth it. That'd be more of like a different kind of deck, like more Chaos 60 card mashup Blue Eyes stuff, which maybe we'll see at some point. But yeah, that's the Blue Eyes deck. Hopefully we'll see it in action. Yeah, I'll see you guys on the next scoop phase, which will be Blue Eyes. Unless I messed up the scheduling somehow, then it won't be Blue Eyes, but it'll probably be Blue Eyes. So like, comment, or whatever, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.